Tristan Da Cunha. It's hardly a place. It's a destination of the mind. Tristan Da Cunha. It's become a kind of sing-song folk music of this ship. I'm beginning to have my doubts. I'm not sure I really want to get there anymore, just in case I'm let down. Tristan Da Cunha. Nearly 7,000 feet high, 7 miles across. Cliche that it is, perhaps it's better to travel hopefully than to arrive.
Hello, I'm John Heminway, and welcome to Travels. I'm at the Royal Geographical Society in London. This wonderful, rather noisy globe, who can resist spinning it? Once, many years ago, my finger settled here. Tristan Da Cunha. Funny name. 1,500 miles from Africa, about 1,700 from South America. Tristan Da Cunha, a rock in the loneliest of all seas, a wisp of an island known for its rare and wonderful stamps. At the age of 10, I began to wonder, who lives on Tristan? And what do they do? What do they think about surrounded by so much sea? Truth is, I never stopped wondering. So just the other day, I settled the question. I booked passage on the world's last great ocean-going mail ship on its once-a-year mission, collecting the post, bearing all those glorious stamps from the island of Tristan Da Cunha.
Travels is made possible by a grant from Lexus. At Lexus, we believe those who seek the exhilaration of travel should be relentless in their pursuit. Travels is also made possible by the financial support of viewers like you.
There is a universal chorus these days. The world is too much with us. Every nation has its Pepsi generation. Every country can be reached by fax machine. Tristan Da Cunha may be the exception. It's called the loneliest place on the earth. An island without an airport, without a proper telephone, a community of 300 people visited only once a year by a mail ship. For years, I dreamed of going there. This year, my dream came true. The only scheduled way to reach Tristan Da Cunha is on board the Royal Mail ship St. Helena, a rough and tumble converted coaster. I joined the RMS at Ascension Island, just south of the equator, after flying 6 hours from New York and another 9 hours from Britain. I felt as if I were stepping back in time to a more forgiving form of travel. I'd been thinking of this journey for years. Now I feel a bit of an intruder. An American nosing through the last remnants of the British Empire. A creature of the 80s about to cruise through the pages of a Somerset Maugham short story.
For all visitors and other persons not sailing in the vessel, will they please proceed ashore now as the gangway is about to be raised.
Nice to see you. Really nice to be on board. Everything all right in your cabin? Oh, fabulous.
The first rite of passage on the high seas always seems to be a cocktail party. I scouted the room. There were few travelers like me, Most had work to do in the South Atlantic.
Well, I'm going to Tristan to work as the dental surgeon for the island. They only have a dental visit once every 2 years.
Have you done this before?
No, I'm normally based on Ascension.
So they find one victim every 2 or 3 years to go down there?
Well, you could say that.
And we're taking it away from Bangladesh, which has 100,000 pounds.
I thought within the PWD world they'd gone off back to Britain and got another job.
I really don't want to know too much before I get there. I want to see it just fresh. I don't want to see what it looks like before there, because you have a certain picture in your mind of what it's going to look like and what it'll be. And I don't want anything to prejudice that.
Here, passengers are secondary to cargo. The RMS is everything a cruise ship isn't. It is, after all, the South Atlantic's one and only carrier of love letters, church organs, hearing aids, Dallas videos, deep pile carpets, and motorbikes. Bound for destinations, mere whimsies of geology. Here, the undersea rift has thrust up an enormous range of great mountains, some taller than Mount Everest, and a few flanked by volcanoes. A handful have graduated into islands, and the one thread that links them is the RMS St. Helena.
We always consider ourselves to be the last male vessel. But yet, after Newcastle vessels went, they're replaced by this little small one, and as far as we know, we are the only one, yeah.
It is one of a kind. Now, it is the last male ship. It is the last ship that regularly runs to some of the most lonely islands in the world. And I think its future is very strong.
First Officer Dave Roberts is exactly the man I, as a boy, wanted to grow up to be. Cool in action, fearless, hairy-faced, even romantic. A modern-day sea rover. Through Dave, I was introduced to a member of the ship's company, and the very first Tristanian I'd ever met, Julian Swain.
Is it really the loneliest place in the world? Everybody calls it the loneliest settlement in the world.
I'd reckon so. I'd reckon, you know, it's about loneliness, but it depends when they talk. It depends what they mean by lonely. I mean, me myself, when I live on Tristan, I wouldn't say really that like he's lonely, like, you know.
What's so special about Tristan? I think it's kind of special.
Well, first, it's my home. That's number one. And like they say, no matter how small, there's no place like home, really. But then again, it's a lot for men, like boys. A lot of activity going on, you know.
Yeah.
Like I say, we got sailboats. We go to the mountain, sheep. It's a lot going for men, like, you know.
Right. Why did you want to go to sea? Were you fed up with living on Tristan?
No, not really, but it's a good experience to get away. Something different. You hear people talking about it, but it's good to see what it is for yourself. Right. Then when people talk about it, you know what they're talking about.
A great place for boys, a place that isn't particularly lonely. Those were my first clues to Tristan. On the third day out, St. Helena, the island of Napoleon, emerged as a washed shadow. For me, the trip is pure romance. For the St. Helenans, it's merely a shuttle. They're returning from contract jobs in Ascension, or from the far more distant, but still British South Atlantic islands, the Falklands. The very excitement of landing at St. Helena made me feel slightly Napoleonic. History, I thought, must be infectious. This, the very spot where the exiled emperor landed in 1815 after losing the Battle of Waterloo. To steady myself from all this heady history, I made my way to the island's most popular watering hole, Anne's place.
You know, we're here to do a film about the island. And I've been told, you're quite famous, I don't know if you realize this, but I've been told that you have a thing about people making films about the island of St. Helena.
Yes, I do, correct? Because from time to time people come here and they make a film.
Lovely. Oh, that's delicious.
Thank you. I feel that they can pick up the better parts of the island. You know, they tend to pick people who's just lounging around and not doing anything. It makes the British government feel as if we're just layabouts.
Strange these days to find an anxious and enthusiastic colonial subject. St. Helena is at once both forbidding and fertile, barely supporting 6,000 inhabitants. For them, the Saints, the arrival of the RMS St. Helena means one thing: calling the mail.
Mr. Lionel Benjamin Bellevue, Gordon's Post. Mr. and Mrs. Donald Barber's Market Street. Mrs. G. Barber's Napoleon Street. The ice cream lady around the corner from the vicarage. Myrtle Bennett, Newbridge, Upper Jamestown. Mr. Kenneth Thomas near Sargent's. Miss Evelyn Thomas, Napoleon Street.
But I couldn't escape the island's history. Longwood House was Napoleon's greatly diminished empire for the last years of his life. I could still sense how haunted he must have been, how determined he was to see, but not be seen by his captors. Walk the sunken path he dug, and in a way I walk with him.
When I am no longer here, English travelers will make drawings of this garden created by Napoleon. There won't be anyone who won't want to visit it.
But very few visitors, English or otherwise, visit Longwood House these days. It sits on land deeded to the French government. From time to time, its doors are opened at the whim of the honorary French consul. Within, 3 or 4 of Napoleon's possessions still remain. Otherwise, the rooms are bare and deathly silent. Here he planned future campaigns and fulminated against his captors. And here, on this very spot, he died on the 5th of May, 1821.
Father, it looks like a bit of a microcosm of the entire island history in this little graveyard here.
Yes, I think you could say that. I think it really is. It tells the story of St. Helena. And particularly, it tells the story of how the island prospered, flourished, and declined and fell. We have got gravestones here of the high officials of the Raj on their way back from India. We've got a judge over there, I think, of the Calcutta Circuit. We've got a fella here, Bombay, on his passage to India. John Hunter, native of Glasgow, on the steamship Adelaide, died aged 22, no doubt also returning. You've got the establishment here, there's a marvellous fellow here with the name John Onions, late steward to the Honourable Company under Governor Beatson. This place was prosperous under the East India Company. They say 1,000 ships a year used to call. So we've got these great warehouses to supply provisions for the ship, bringing things in from the country, down that ladder. You had hotels, pubs, merchants. The place was thronged with people, we gather. And now what? One ship, 6 times a year, handful of yachts.
It was time to leave, once again to abandon light and plunge into the darkest of oceans. Funny how on this ship far from land, I feel released from Earth, adrift in a kind of limbo. Often I think of Tristan Da Cunha, a name the world recognizes, largely because of the volcano that blew in 1961. I consider its ties to St. Helena, how it was first settled by a British garrison intended to discourage the French from coming to Napoleon's rescue. The seeds of that garrison, the descendants of a Scottish artilleryman, are still on Tristan today, nearly 2 centuries later. Odd to find a place where history is still so raw. Here the ocean was so empty. We'd even been abandoned by the birds.
How have you done so far?
Well, at the present moment, there are very few birds at sea. So I only recorded, for example, 1 bird at lunchtime today.
What bird was that?
That was a soft plumage petrel that crossed the port bow and then headed straight away from the vessel. Doesn't follow the ship.
Can I just look at this to see what you've seen?
Certainly, yes.
Oh, you saw a large flying fish.
That's right. 1 large flying fish and a whole school of smaller ones. I'm not really certain of the species, so I logged them according to size.
Do they qualify as birds?
No, but what we do, see, we have here a list of an association with whatever other creatures are found in the area under study.
But it seems to me that over the last 3 days, all you've seen is that fluffy-backed petrel.
The soft plumage petrel, that's right, yes.
Plumage petrel and a few flying fish.
A few flying fish, but around St. Helena, plenty of noddies.
Right.
Noddies, tropic birds, masked booby, brown booby.
So, Captain, about where are we right now?
We're about 26.5 south now, which is about halfway between St. Helena and Tristan. There's Tristan and there's St. Helena.
We're also about equidistant between Africa and South America, too, aren't you?
Almost. So we're a long way from anywhere just now.
I see. Silly question, but just what would happen if we lost this engine? How would you get help from anybody if you were stranded at sea?
I think we'd be sitting here for quite a while before we could get a tug out here, so we have to fix it ourselves.
Lovely.
Hello, Tristan Radio, Tristan Radio, Tristan Radio, Tristan Radio, Tristan Radio. This is St. Helena, St. Helena, St. Helena to Tristan Radio. How do you read, please?
What's going to happen to a stranger like myself, for instance, when I get there? Are people going to accept me?
Well, I suspect it mainly depends on you, I reckon. Mainly depends on you. I mean, if you want to sort of like be shy to people and don't sort of like want to go up and speak to them, they got pride as well. They won't sort of like go up and speak to you. But if you sort of want to mix with the people, then they like people like that. They like people who like to mix.
They do.
So if you want to mix, like I said, I don't think you'll have no problem.
What are you going to do when you get back? What's the first thing you're going to do when you get back?
Well, that's a good question. I got a lot of things in mind, but I don't think I get the time to do it.
And while Julian Swain plotted his brief stopover at Tristan, I sought out others who were going to Tristan to stay. One was Bernard Pauncefort, the island's newly assigned administrator, and his wife Patricia.
I have a feeling that the island community of Tristan is different from every other island community. It just seems to be an anomaly in the world today that something could be as desolate as an island like that and still be inhabited by people who, by choice, want to live there.
And who, in fact, made that choice deliberately, because when the volcano went up in '60 and they were all evacuated to England, 90% of them asked to be repatriated to the island. And went back because they didn't like Southampton. There's a lot of people who don't like Southampton, of course, but they didn't like it at all. And back they all went, 90% of them. So they made their choice as a deliberate one, not just the accident of birth and not being able to get off.
Tristan Da Cunha. It's hardly a place. It's a destination of the mind. Tristan Da Cunha. It's become a kind of sing-song folk music of this ship. I'm beginning to have my doubts. I'm not sure I really want to get there anymore, just in case I'm let down. Tristan Da Cunha. Nearly 7,000 feet high, 7 miles across. Cliche that it is, perhaps it's better to travel hopefully than to arrive.
rapidly, and you will get a lot of dust, and you may get some water coming out of the chain locker. Okay, so don't be alarmed when it goes out, just stay exactly where you are, and all will be tickety-boo. All right?
So much for my doubts. At long last, Tristan. For me, it had been a voyage of 1 week on the high seas from Ascension. For the ship, 3 weeks from Britain. I scrambled to be the first ashore. In the event, my enthusiasm got me to the shore long before anyone else, including the film crew and the island's new administrator. Julian, the sailor home from the sea for as long as the RMS stayed at anchor, played the island's returning hero, dressed for the part. But where were the women? With me, the men were clearly shy, but what was puzzling was their absence of curiosity. Not a greeting, not a question, not even a stare. First night on the island, first illusion shattered. Rock and roll had preceded me to Tristan. I suppose I was expecting folk dancing. Here at last were the women, and dancing with gusto. But each time the music stopped, they retreated en masse to their corner. Talk about segregation of the sexes. I had a lot of questions to ask. My first morning on Tristan. Not just exposed rock, but green meadows in all directions. And with every glance, another illusion bursts.
Afternoon. How are you? All right. Where are you bringing the cattle from?
Huh?
Where are you taking the cattle from?
Cattle from over here, obviously.
Up here by the volcano?
Yeah.
Where are they going now?
Goes up the cliff.
I see.
Of course I didn't see. I hadn't understood one word. I had to keep reminding myself that everything that doesn't grow here or can't be made here must come a minimum of 1,500 miles. Of course, some things they don't need. Door locks. There are no thieves in Tristan. Still, I find myself decisively locked out. Tristan, my home for the next 2 weeks. 7 miles across, but everyone living in the village. Bounded on one side by the new volcano, on the other by the farmed land, a place called the Patches. Tristan. This is the Tristan I suppose I dreamed about. It's not exactly what I had in mind. Part 20th century, part Middle Ages, part other world. Walk along these roads, people seem to avoid me. Are they threatened or are they just plain annoyed by the intrusion? I can't tell. I've been to many remote destinations before, but I've never seen a place so remote that people were totally indifferent to a newcomer. Afternoon. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
These people won't talk to me. They won't even glance my way.
Hello, boy. Hello.
Even the dogs don't trust me. I wondered if my fellow passenger Bernard would fare better than I.
I, Bernard Edward Pauncefort, swear that I will well and truly serve Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors, in the office of Administrator, and I will do right to all manner of persons after the laws and usages of this colony, without fear or favour, affection or ill will. So help me God.
In the afternoon, a less conspicuous ceremony. The last cargo from the RMS was unloaded. Its predecessor had died of diseases related to overuse in salt air.
Just hold up. Calm down a bit. Don't get like
The wind had gathered and the seas were rising. The RMS St. Helena decided not to linger. I felt like a castaway for life. Well, if the islanders wouldn't talk to me, maybe I might learn something from their ancestors. The oldest headstone, one William Glass, a member of the original British garrison. He came back in 1821 with a wife, settled for life, became the forefather of this remote outpost. Scots, Irish, English, American, Dutch, and finally Italian. Castaways of the world who somehow found each other and for whom differences became a bond. Glass, Rogers, Hagen, Swain, Green, Lavarello, and Repetto. The island's roll call. Only 7 families, refined, remixed, and redefined for nearly 2 centuries. My wanderings brought me here, where history is also accumulating. Auntie Martha, 95, the oldest of all the islanders, and best of all, the first to talk to me.
Auntie Martha, how did your father come to this island?
Well, he was shipwrecked here, sir.
Could you say that again?
He was shipwrecked here. My father, Andrea Repetto and Gaetano Lavaretto, and they stayed and got married. And they had quite a large family. But they sold to go to the rest now, you see. And my father always used to tell me, tell us, not only me, remember, be kind to strangers. Remember, he was a stranger on the island once.
Be kind to strangers. I like that. Everybody on this island had once been a stranger. I like that too. And all these strangers had somehow developed a way of living together in harmony. But of course there was a pattern to this harmony. I noted it at church my first Sunday. Here, once again, the sexes were segregated. Bernard had made the mistake of leaving with the women. Not wanting to break with tradition, I hung back and made my move with the men. Later, I chatted with two women I hadn't seen in church. I asked them if they accepted the segregation of the sexes.
Well, I mean, it's sort of what we grew up with.
It's sort of tradition, really.
But in other words, inequality is what you grew up with.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's the men sort of what provide food and the income and that. So, and the women who stay at home keep the house. I mean, some women work.
Are there jobs that women would like to do that they can't?
Yeah. I mean, if I could do any job I wanted, I wouldn't have been working in the office. I'd want to be a mechanic. But that's not a sort of job a girl gets offered here.
How would I ever uncover a secret on Tristan?
You wouldn't, because, I mean, like, a lot of Tristan in the past have had so many journalists come here. They write about what they want to write about, not what the islanders tell them. And that's why they're very wary of people like you.
Journalists' interest in Tristan is fairly recent. It dates from October 1961, when the earth opened at the edge of the village. The island's way of life would never be the same.
But still these things keep shaking on the shelves and keep on, and something, you had to hold some fast to the thing. Something said, look, this is something. And it just went and went on till they keep getting worse and worse. And then the Sunday was a Sunday I knew. We was for a birthday, Master and I, and the ground started to crack along the road, you see.
It was the first of several eruptions. Burning ash ignited one house, and several farm animals perished. Amazingly, no one died or was seriously injured.
Here's the volcano eruption. That's when the Navy ship, I think, came.
I'd brought along a copy of the newsreel that had put Tristan on the map. I wanted somehow to share with Julian's family those epic events which changed Tristan's destiny.
And that's William Rogers.
The island's administrator acted decisively. Tristan's entire population was evacuated to Britain. There they would stay for 2 years before insisting on returning. For all the Tristanians, this was a first view of the outside world, a first encounter with the 20th century. A traumatic experience for all, but especially so for the parents of a 2-month-old infant.
Louis, is that you? With Julian in your arms?
Yes, that's me. I was a good-looking young man then.
He was nice and thin, now he's too fat.
And what do you imagine life's going to be like when you get to Britain?
Well, we don't really know because we haven't been to the outside well yet.
But what do you think yourself?
Well, I think the good Lord will look after us and we'll be happy there.
Were the people nice to you in England?
Yes, very nice. They was very kind to us. They couldn't wish enough. The only thing we longed for our homestead in England was so different to us, you know.
Have you ever seen television?
No.
It's a box with a picture in it, and you see cowboys in it. Would you like to see that?
Yes.
We didn't just have no television, we never had no gas, no refrigerators, we never nothing like that. But after we come back to Tristan, we got everything is up to date.
You have Dallas now?
Yes, we had.
Is it better because of Dallas?
I like to come back to Tristan for the sake of my children, because in England you have to keep them indoors all the time. And that's one thing we ain't used to, is our doors locked and our children shut up inside all the time. But here in Tristan is a free life for them. They can run about, they can go where they like. You haven't got any worry about with them.
Life in England's better, and there's better prospects in England for the younger people.
Would you say you were pretty contented to be back?
Yes, rather. I wouldn't part with my little Highland home for anything. Too quiet and lovely.
Is it the same with you?
Beg your pardon, sir?
Is it the same with you?
Well, it's no place like home, no. It's just quite too lonely. It can be lonely, but it's no place like home.
Are you happy to be back in Tristan?
Happy in a way, sir, and sad in another. For the peace of my heart is in England. And I long to be there, for to be lay at rest beside him, but that can never be. But my brother-in-law is looking after his grave there and keeping it nice and clean. But I send what little money I earn, I send to help him. To, you know, flowers in England, it's like on Tristan. Tristan, you come one another's garden and say, oh, can I have a bunch of flowers? Yes, go and pick what you want. But in England, you have to go and buy those flowers. You see, everything in England is money. There's nothing we get without money. You won't get a pin, you won't get a needle. No use telling me. You won't get a pin and you won't get a needle if you ain't got the money to buy it. I've been in England and I know England. England's a nice place and a lovely place, a beautiful place, and the people is very kind, but everything is money.
Bernard, is Tristan, it's just a vestige of empire. What's in it for Britain?
I think there's anything in it for Britain. Britain has a moral responsibility to govern this tiny island and these people in the best interests of the inhabitants. After all, we acquired it during a period of colonial expansion, as it were, in, the early 1800s. And we're here now. And until the islanders tell us that they want us to go, we will stay.
Does it cost Britain anything?
No, not a thing, no. It does to the extent there's a certain amount of aid money that tops up the salary of the teacher and the doctor and so on. But the running of the island and all of its services is financed out of revenue that comes from the Crayfish concession and the postage stamps, both of which are very good money earners.
Postage stamps had been my boyhood link to Tristan Da Cunha. For a while, they were the centerpiece of my collection.
Alan, we've got the proofs of the next issue of stamps from Capco for our comments. I didn't have anything to do with the design of these. You saw it from the very beginning.
Yes.
They've made a number of suggestions of where it can be cleaned up.
Now I could see how the island's second biggest industry actually worked. Nothing mechanical here. It was, in fact, a production line composed of 2 stamp lickers. All day long they went at it with unflagging precision and care. The stamps and first day covers are all printed in Britain, but there they have no value. It's only when they come in contact with a Tristan postmark and Tristan salt air with the fastidious care of a Tristan liquor, only then they become valuable. Beautiful stamps, celebrating everything from the epic to the mundane on this windswept island. The weather on Tristan is so violent that even the harbor is no protection for a fishing boat. The only safe berth is high up on the land, and only 1 day in 5 are the seas still enough for a launching. Fishing not only subsidizes the island, it's at the heart of the island's soul. For every island man is, deep down, a fisherman. Crayfish. There's probably no richer population than in the deep waters off Tristan. But crayfish are way beyond the means of Tristan families, who catch, process, and deep freeze them for the world's more affluent diners. Standing out from the crowd is not a Tristan trait, so there's a price to pay for being a highly paid islander.
As long as I'm factory manager down there, there are lots of people in Ireland who just ignore you. You know, they don't like you for your ways. They don't like you the way you react. And Tristan is always like that and always will be. They don't like somebody else being above them in their own community. It is lots of people who do not like to take responsibility. I don't know why, but I think they find out that if they take responsibility, they're going to fall out with somebody. I'm the sort of person who don't live by people's liking. I mean, if a person don't like me, well, he doesn't like me, that's fine. But I'm not going to give up just because he doesn't like me, you see.
I soon discovered that one of the most sociable occasions of the week is on Saturday, when everyone who can journeys the 3 miles out to the patches to dig their potatoes. It's a tradition as old as the island's history, when potatoes were the staple diet. In fact, a substitute for money.
Now, in those days, you had no money. Tell me what it was like not having any money, and how it's different today.
Oh, dear sir, I don't think I'd really tell you, because you couldn't understand how we live without money, but we didn't look for it. We didn't think about it. They used to barter, you know, get their food from ships, the exchange. They'd come here and get, like, meat and potatoes or vegetables, and then they'd give you an exchange, like flour, tea, sugar, or any little luxuries what they had in exchange. And then when we got it, we shared out between each other.
Perhaps I'm too spoilt by the outside world to find much comfort in island routine. I'm drawn time and again to the flotsam from afar, to messages of other lives that continually roll up on the beach. Not so with the Tristanians. Here it's either a church day, a fishing day, a potato day. Here it's sharing and togetherness, ritual and tradition. Survival is cooperation, and the seas are to the Tristanians what the heavens may be to others, the boundaries of the world. Tristanians, I'm beginning to understand, don't want the world to get any smaller. They want the sea to be as large and as daunting and as unforgiving as it's always been. That way, it will always separate them from the outside world. That way, they'll always know peace. A newly built home on Tristan. It belongs to Pat Patterson. His is the first new surname this century. He was admitted because he married an island girl. But why did he choose to retire to Tristan?
Well, we're far from the madding crowd here, as you can see. It's quiet and peaceful. I think a lot of people would like to find a little island somewhere, and we've got one.
What is the downside of life here in Tristan? It's not all glory.
Well, one disadvantage is everyone knows each other's business to some extent. Such a small community. And, you know, it's petty little squabbles and jealousies, but I think overall the people are just like you'd find people anywhere else.
Is gossip and scandal something which affects women because it's such a small community?
It depends who it is, really, because some people just don't worry about it, but like me, I do. So, and probably Carleen don't really worry, don't you?
No, I don't care what you think about me.
That's right.
It's almost a certainty that you're going to marry somebody that you've been to school with and that you've known since birth. Is that true?
Yeah.
How do you... I can't conceive of it, I'm sorry. How do you feel about it?
Well, how do you expect us to feel?
Well, I mean, it's a foregone conclusion that you already know the man you're going to marry, even when you're 3 years old.
But that's the way it's always been on Tristan.
Doesn't bother you?
No.
No surprise?
No.
If a Tristan girl got pregnant, is it a hideous stamp against a blot on her character?
No, I don't think so. Not now. It's accepted now.
I think it is accepted.
A lot of women seem to get pregnant, don't they, before marriage? In fact, it seems to be the step. You get pregnant and then you get married.
No.
Not here. It
Not all the
depends
time.
Persons or persons.
Probably half the time it's accidents anyway.
That's right.
How about abortions? Could one get an abortion or something?
No.
It's illegal, isn't it?
Yes.
Could there be such a thing as divorce on the island?
No, I didn't
It
think so.
could be a thing as divorce, but it's so much palaver involved in it, then I don't think people would go through with divorce.
Especially gossip, probably.
I mean, it's never been a divorce on Tristan. And with all this palaver in it, I don't think people would divorce.
It was extraordinary. On almost all other islands I've known, there's escape. The kids dream of great cities and of ocean-skipping ambitions. Here, there's no such thing. What's more, I discovered, it's one of the first rules the kids learn to accept. One continuous horizon, one mountain, one perspective. Unless British nationality laws are to change, Tristanian children have no automatic right to live and work in Britain. They must look to careers uniquely Tristanian. So as school children, they're trained on island projects rather than skills for the outside world. Lugging every possible photographic device, I joined a party of island teenagers one day on an albatross survey 2,000 feet above the village.
Go on. Whoa. Go on, grab him before he throws up again all over me. Go on, now. Go on. Okay, look, you hold the pliers and the ring. Right, and I'll show you how it's done. Okay. Now look, can you take his neck from me now? Look. Okay. Now come right up. Can you feel his sort of skull under there? Now don't grip him too tight.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I think you're gripping him a bit too hard actually. Turn him around this way a bit because I want to get at this leg here. That's it. Okay. So the ring goes on the right leg. Like this. There it is. Okay, let him go now. Terrific.
Jim, how many years has it been since you've been ringing these birds?
This is our 4th year now. And there was my predecessor started it all off. He did 1 year and found, I think, about 18 nests in the first year. And the next year, one of the doctors was very interested in birds, and he used to come up here with me. That was quite a successful year. And when he left, I sort of took over the whole project and involved the school children more.
I want my children to have, if I can help it, what I couldn't have. In my days, when I go up, I had a bit of schooling, quite a bit, and I try hard. But I want them to beat me, if I can give them that chance. But they'll never have the opportunity on Tristan, unless I can do something and get them away to a schooling outside. Well, I will do my uttermost best to do it.
So we send both our daughters to Denison College in the UK. Now, one trained to be a nurse, and the other one trained to be a teacher, not a teacher, a catering, doing catering work in hotels and all of that.
They're never going to come back here.
So they're not going to come back here now, although I got one coming back, but she's only here for 6 months because she had to give up nursing and she can't get a visa in England to stay. So we really, with the visa in the UK, I'd like to say, we class Britain as the mother hen, but it seems to me that we're the ugly duckling. We just left out in the cold.
Both my girls were born in England, so they're entitled to British passports. If they're bright, when the time comes, if they're bright, they can go back to university or polytechnic.
You've got everything, in other words, that the islanders really don't
I have
have.
a certain flexibility, yes.
Naturally, I worry about those kids who won't have that flexibility, unable to go elsewhere for work, and unlikely to find a partner not named Glass, Rogers, Hagen, Swain, Green, Lavarella, or Repetto. Won't they be in danger one day of inbreeding? I asked the island's only doctor.
One assumes that any of the major problems are so dilute that even with only 8 families on the island, you're not going to see any serious disorders demonstrated. were it ever to be a significant problem for a few individuals, this is the sort of community where they would blend in and be accommodated without question or stigma.
Remarkable community.
This is Tristan.
This is Tristan, and more Tristan than anything else are the longboats. Made of wood and canvas according to plans 100 years old, they are, for these people, emblems of the Tristan life. For them, it would be a sacrilege if they were fiberglass or metal and powered by anything less than the wind. So several times a year, when conditions are right and the seas forgiving, they neglect church, potatoes, and crayfish to launch these frail craft for a weekend outing to neighboring Nightingale, some 20 miles away. And it was on this voyage that for one moment I didn't feel like an outsider.
You're not going to tell me how old you are, eh?
I will not. If you tell me your age, I'll tell you my age. That's a secret.
Okay, it's a secret. Just listen carefully now.
We call bees like you chickens.
I hope he meant spring chicken. First time I've been called that.
When us two old fogies leave, these young kids, are they going to have a Tristan that's just the same as it is today?
Well, that I don't know. That's a question I can't answer you, but I can't care less because I be done and gone, or gone. It's up to those own self to make their own.
No, Tristanians are neither romantics, nor poets, nor magicians of the heart. Realists to a man, they bear no illusions of their place in this world. Tiny specks in a great and inhuman sea. Like Nightingale's rockhopper penguins, Tristanians know they belong.
Caroline. Hello, Caroline. Tristan, how do you to Caroline? 2182, how do you read, please, over?
The shortwave radio. Tristan's one shaky link to the outside world, and for me the chance to contact the fishing trawler chartered to take me home. Thousands of nautical miles in distance, light years in spirit.
Caroline. This is John Heminway speaking. Caroline, John Heminway speaking. Just one question. Do you have any
On my 14th and final day on Tristan, I had what I consider an island rite of passage. I threw a birthday party, and 1/5 of the island's population turned up. They showered me with presents, 23 pairs of knitted wool socks, the traditional island gift.
Where's Margaret? Margaret? Very shy, Margaret. Margaret, come on, I see you there. Thank you very much. I'm very, very touched indeed. Can I give you a big kiss? Thank you.
Hardly momentous this birthday, yet I'm touched. Tristan Da Cunha, its self-sufficient people, have shown me the significance of a small, otherwise inconsequential milestone of my life. And now my leaving takes on a deeper meaning. On this island, I came upon rich guarantees we never have at home. The guarantee of unconditional friendship, the guarantee of help under any circumstance, the guarantee of freedom from crime, a passion for peace. Yet here I am, ill at ease with all this security, straining to find the vessel that will take me back to a world where there is no peace, where there are no guarantees, and where friendships are all too often conditional. So in setting out to realize a dream, I also found something unexpected in myself.
Thanks for joining me on Tristan Da Cunha. I'm John Heminway. See you next time on Travels.
Travels is made possible